Hey Joe, how you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Good.
So how's everything going?
It's going good. Going good. There we go. Uh, in Florida too, so we're just getting into our busy time into season. But yeah, I've been laying out a roadmap for the year, just doing some strategic planning, some marketing planning, client acquisition planning. So that's always fun times thinking about just the roadmap for the entire year.
I love it. I love it. Ashley and I will meet. Well, we do this almost on a daily basis, but we do it yearly for like our big goals. But we literally write down, what our goals are, but we write them in a way that they've already happened, right? So, and like, instead of writing, I want to generate 10 million in revenue, it's like I generated 10 million in revenue. And it's
Yep.
funny, we do that. We'll do it together at the beginning of the year, but we also do it, like I said, almost daily, where I just like writing in a new unit of time on a new sheet of notebook paper and just bang, 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 bang. And we look back at some of this shit and it's just like done, 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 done. Like all these things have been done. It's pretty
Isn't
wild.
that cool? That's awesome.
So awesome.
I read How to Think and Grow Rich. Have you read that book?
Yeah, I read
So
it probably about 10 years ago. Yeah.
yeah, I read it last year. Finally got through it from start to finish because it is a long book and can be a little dry. But they talk about that practice, that very practice. It's writing down your goals in a past sense, like you've already completed it. But
Yep.
the most important component of what they talked about is the emotion that you associate with completing that goal and it being in the past sense. So if you just write down, I achieved X and don't have any emotion behind it, it's not going to do much for you. But the more you can like think, feel, like imagine like how it is of achieving it, then the more likely it's to come true, which I thought was an interesting aspect of that book. That was one of the takeaways I took away.
Yeah, I don't specifically recall that, but yeah, we don't put any emotion to it. It just, yeah, I have this. And we look at like all aspects of our life, right? So like personally, right? The physical body, right? Like what's happening with that relationship, with family relationship, sexual relationship, right? The group, right? Like our friends and coworkers and the business, and then yeah, the dogs, and we look at fucking everything, right?
Yeah,
The house, like material stuff, all, yeah,
everything. I think one of
yeah,
my professors in law school, he told me, he's like, I forget exactly the way he said it, but he's like, you got the 5 F's, right? Family, fitness, faith, food, and fun time, I think was like the fifth one. So he's like, if one of those areas are lacking, he's like, you're gonna feel it and you're gonna notice it.
I think there's actually 8, not
Okay.
5.
What are the three? What three am I missing?
Okay, so you have the first, which is yourself, right?
Okay.
And then the second would be the family unit, including like sex and sex, the rearing of children, family unit in general, parents, all that, cousins, all that stuff. Then you have third would be groups, okay, friend groups, work groups, all that. Fourth would be all of mankind, right? So not just mankind in general. Fifth would be life forms, right? All living things, right? Plants, animals, all that. Six would be matter, energy, space, and time. So all things material, right? Matter, energy, space, and time. Anything in the material universe kind of fits in that. And then seventh would be spirituality, right? And then eighth could be considered God or infinity. Yeah. So
Nice.
really anything in life kind of fits in. And he's totally right. Like if you're only focused on work, right? The other ones, right? Maybe work is expanding like mad, but the other ones are going to go to shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you totally have to have a balance and create on all of them. And I think that's like why Ashley and I, we sit down and list these out so routinely, because if you don't really, I think once a year is just not enough, right? It's like, okay, once a year and then you put it in your fucking drawer and it's like,
nothing happens.
Yeah. But if you're doing it like very consistently, then it's like at the forefront of your mind, and you just, your actions create on that, right? You're like constantly putting attention on these things. And yeah, it's a creation, right? You ultimately, our viewpoint is that you're fully responsible for the condition you are in life. Like 100%, it's on you, good or bad, right? It's up to you, your condition in life. And you ultimately have the ability to make it better or worse. And why not make it better? Right.
That's awesome. So no, I appreciate you inviting me on here. It's cool that you've been doing these podcasts. I've seen you've been posting some content. One of the things that is kind of forefront in our thought, and going back to that planning that we're doing, is client acquisition. And I was kind of reflecting back when we first got started with growing and growth. I think it was like 6-7 years ago now. Have you ever been to like a BNI or Chamber of Commerce meeting or just any networking event? So I would be going out, and I think at like one point I was doing like 30 networking events like a week. It was like nuts. Like,
oh my God.
From like breakfast to lunch to happy hour to like stuff on the weekends, evenings. But the funniest thing is I wasn't generating clients. I wasn't generating business, and I was just exhausted. Had a miserable life. I had no balance with any of the stuff we were talking about before. And I reflect back, and I think for me, what I did was I took a step back from everything, because back then we were truly a jack of all trades, master of none. So we were doing, family law and immigration and criminal law and estate planning and real estate and personal injury, and we had like 8-9 practice areas. And I look back on some of the marketing material we had, and it was like, a full service law firm. Like that's what we were trying to brand ourselves to be. Worst business strategy decision we probably ever made was trying to be like that master of all, or jack of all trades, master of none. So for me, I took that step back and I said, who is that target client? Who's that avatar that we want to work towards? And then once we define that avatar, it's how do we create opportunities to get in front of that avatar? And so I found that my avatar was really hard to find at these events. Like I can't go to a BNI event. I can't go to maybe a chamber event, but maybe there's only 1 or 2 people at the chamber event. And all these different networking events I was going to, maybe there was 1 person or 2 people that fit into my avatar. And when I was there, I was spending all my time talking to the other people, not even like trying to create relationships with that avatar that I had defined in my mind. So what we did was, let's create opportunities to get in front of our avatar. So we first started to grow our real estate practice at the time, and we started doing a real estate networking event, and it was for real estate agents. And we hosted our first event. It was at this like little rundown place, and we had like 50 RSVPs. We're like, wow, we have to move it to a bigger location. And so it evolved. We ended up doing it at a Arthur Ruttenberg model home, and had some speakers come out. We had like a CPA. One of our attorneys talked about estate planning. We had like a financial advisor, and we had like a panel of speakers for the realtors. And we had like 50 or 60 realtors that came out to that event. And that was the first time, I think it was like November of 2019 we did it. And we've consistently have done that same event at different properties for sale since then, just creating that opportunity to get in front of, for that practice area, right? Each practice area is a little bit different for us. Creating opportunities to get in front of our target audience. So, people in that aspect, people are like, well, what's your ROI on the event? I mean, I could tell you the relationships I made. Like, I think for us, it's more of like a branding. Like that was a platform to make relationships with people in the community. Has it resulted in business? 100%. But, sometimes you can't measure, like, it's like, what's the ROI of your mom? Like a super high ROI, right? So what about you guys? I mean, have you defined out your client avatar, or what's?
Yes and no.
It's evolving.
Yeah. I mean, with estate planning, it's generally, married couples who are over 45, have a net worth of a million and up. That's really kind of what it is. Medicaid is generally, it's kind of tough to really get that because we get children of the elderly, we get the spouse of the elderly. Probate is just no, we don't have an avatar for that. It's like the personal representative.
Yeah, that one's a little tough. I mean, there's a lot of out of state people calling for probate. Then
Right.
we got in state people.
Yeah, our out of state Google campaign does really well.
I think one of the things I think you shared with me previously on this was, sometimes it's hard to define what your avatar looks like, but you can define who's not your avatar.
Right.
And so, I think, we were talking about probate qualifications one time. And, you were saying that you added some qualifications in there from like an intake perspective, just trying to disqualify people.
Yeah.
So you, at least, you can hone in on like who's not your avatar. Maybe it's tough to define that actual avatar, but a way to start, is saying, well, who doesn't fit within this box?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I guess that's kind of how we do it. When I've read about stuff like what's your avatar, creating your avatar, I don't know if I have just like a misunderstanding on it or whatever, but I kind of just like go a little bit blank. I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, I certainly know who's not. And we've really tightened the ship up recently. We increased our marketing budget quite a bit over the last 5 or 6 months. So the call volume is just like through the roof. And we were getting like, they were just booking not anything, but close to it, right? For consults, and attorneys were getting fucking pissed. And yeah, it was like, the hell is this? This person's got 5,000 in assets and I'm trying to pitch them a $6,500 estate plan. Like, what's going on?
Yep.
So yeah, I definitely know who's not. And we're constantly tightening that up. So what do you guys, what's in the plan for client acquisition this year?
So, I think it's developing our referral partners, trying to strengthen those relationships, and trying to continue staying in touch with them and involved with them. So what we do is, once we have a relationship with someone, we want to keep them coming back. So we do a podcast. I've got a podcast studio right over here. They'll come on our podcast. We'll give some education, put out their education. We started doing in October, I call it a strategic partnership luncheon. So it's 10 to 15 people that come out to a luncheon. We do it every other month. So we'll invite those people to come out to a luncheon. We'll pay for the lunch.
Who's coming to that?
We're inviting around 6 to 7 people that we currently work with, that we've done business with, that we know, and then they're bringing a guest, someone who we don't know. And then it's really just a roundtable conversation. So, what challenges are you having? What's a win that you want to share? What's an issue that you're having? And there's not one specific industry. I mean, not one of them. We had like 2 people in the marketing field that were there, and they were like talking to each other, like giving each other referrals, which was pretty cool to see. But we try to have a diverse group of industries there. So financial advisor, chiropractor, banker, wealth manager, CPA. So, are the people that we work with on a regular basis. So we want to just, we're looking for ways to try to strengthen those relationships and just continue to stay in touch with them. Because sometimes you go, 3 or 4 months and you're like, oh, wow, I haven't talked to this person in 4 months.
At least 3 or 4 months minimum. I mean, Jesus. That's our worst thing. Our worst thing is networking. We don't do it. Yeah.
You don't know networking at all.
None. Zero. Yeah. It's going to change.
I saw there was like a job posting you put, or didn't you put something out there for a networking role or something?
Salesperson.
Okay. So what does that look like?
Literally an attorney, or I think we're going to be hiring an attorney and a non-attorney to do sales. I think I found two really good candidates. So they're just doing sales, just consults. That's it. No legal work. Because when I started doing postcards, we mailed a large quantity. So the leads were coming in quite a bit for estate planning. And Ashley was the only attorney. She was the only one doing consults. We had a paralegal, right? But that meant Ashley had to do all the consults, all of the reviewing, right, of the paralegal's work, right? So it was a full calendar. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then I was like, hey, I want to get into probate. It's recession proof, right? People are always going to die if the world shuts down for COVID too. Number two, people still need that service. So we hired a girl, Stephanie, who was very experienced in probate. I said, hey, I want you to grow this. And she did. But we started paying for Google ads for that. And her and Ashley would do the consults, and she would do the legal, Stephanie would be the paralegal and she's really built that area up. It's really booming. But then we got Medicaid. We started doing Medicaid last April. Hired a woman who's super experienced in Medicaid, said the same thing to her. I said to Stephanie, I want to grow this area. But they've all had to do the legal work, right? Ashley is still doing quite a bit of consults, right? That's pretty much her calendar, right? We have another attorney who does the reviewing, but Ashley is doing consults. When I looked at it towards the end of the last quarter, it's like, okay, what do we need to do to grow? We grew 88% last year, or 83%, 83%, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge growth percentage.
Absolutely.
Right. It's like, that's not sustainable long term. So we grow 88% every year. It's like,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Right. It'd be awesome. But okay, in a normal business, the salesperson doesn't do the work, right? And the people doing the work don't do the sales. That's in a normal structure. But in the legal industry, that's not generally the case. Generally, the attorney's doing the consult and then doing the legal work of some sort, right?
Right.
So the idea, what we're going to do, we moved. Stephanie was our chief operations officer. So she was overseeing all production work, overseeing the paralegals, legal assistants, and attorneys. But she was really good. She was doing consults half the day. So all last year, she was doing half the day. She was doing probate consults, and the other half of the day doing COO stuff. She's very good at doing consults. Very, very good. And she brought in like around 1.5. I think it was 1.5 million in probate sales last year on a part-time basis.
Good
right?
for her.
Yeah. So I said, look, we need to grow. We need to separate the two, grow a sales team and grow a production team, right? And have them separated. So at the beginning of the year, we moved her over to a sales manager role full-time. And that's what she's still doing a lot of consults right now, but I want her more managing and training, managing, handling the larger cases, the ones that are more high paying, the $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 ones. Like, okay, she'll be the one to follow up with them rather than,
paralegal. Yeah.
Yeah. Or intake girl. But yeah, so I'm hiring two people who will be sales closers. They'll do consults, and that'll free Ashley up more, take more consults off her plate so she can be more in a management role, start doing more PR type stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome. One of the things that we don't have it really ironed out right now, is a maintenance program.
We kind of do, but yeah.
Yeah. But, I was talking with some firms and, I mean, and I think our team's right around the same size. And this was a much smaller firm bringing in every year 6 figures in revenue from a maintenance program.
Wow.
But putting the money aside, like the idea of a maintenance program is awesome, because one of the challenges, just from like a conceptual point of view that we have, is, we're in transactional law, right? So we've got people coming in, and then, you might not hear until something happens, until they have like a major life change where they come back. So like, how do you bridge that gap where, you look at a financial advisor or CPA, they've got this ongoing relationship with these people where they're touching base with them every year because there's actually things to work on. They're actively managing their money, or they're filing the taxes, but in an estate planning aspect, we don't have that ongoing relationship. So how do you bridge the gap from a transactional law firm to more of a relationship-based law firm? And I think that it could be a really great asset, is implementing a maintenance plan where you're touching base with clients, they're getting some benefits for being involved in the maintenance plan, and then they're still connected with the firm, even though they finished their estate plan and they've got their executed documents, or maybe you're holding on to their executed documents. So that's something not this quarter, but next quarter we're looking at trying to roll out.
What are they doing for it? How are they doing it?
So I've heard a lot of different ideas. I've heard some people charge as low as like $100 a year. Some people charge as high as $1,000 a year. I've heard free amendments to their trust, free minor changes to their will. I've heard, if they've got 2 or 3 trusts, then maybe it's a little bit more of a cost, if you're doing free amendments for all those trusts. And that's like unlimited minor changes that they're making as part of this maintenance plan. I've heard they combined it with, because you guys also, you're doing closing still, right?
Real estate closings?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a title company separate from the law firm, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do closing. So they offer some type of discount, on a closing fee, offer some type of discount on a post-death administration, maybe some client experience events throughout the year. I don't know. I haven't ironed out all the details, but those are some of like the high level points that I've heard. Have you heard anything different from what I'm bringing up?
Well, we have a legacy protection plan, which, let me pull it up and I'll read to you what it is. It's essentially what you're talking about. So what it includes is free changes to your trust and advance directives, child coverage, which is a free durable power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, living will, for your Florida resident children who are 18 and over.
I like that.
One free deed. Yeah, that's a good one, because if they do that, right, and they come in, it's like, hey, upsell them on a full plan, right? And we're not going to do one for the spouse. Right? We'll do one for, the one child, but maybe the spouse will want one. One free deed per year, annual group meeting to discuss current changes, trust funding review, periodically review assets to keep up with changes, and then transition support, which is a 1-hour consult with a successor trustee when they gain control of the trust. We have it at $800 a year for a single person and $1,200 a year for a couple.
So, like, let's say you charge X to do the trust administration for someone who calls you up and has, a couple $1 million in assets, who's not a client of yours. So if you have a client who you did their trust, they're part of your legacy program, is one of the benefits for enrolling in this program a discount for what you would normally charge for trust administration, or for probate administration if something doesn't make it into the trust.
No, but I do like that.
Yeah.
I do like that. Yeah, I do like that. We started this around a year ago, and we include this free for the first year. So we pitch that during the estate plan consult, right? Hey, this is what you're going to get for the first year. After the first year, these are the fees. So we haven't started to resell it again. And I don't really need to talk with our salespeople about it. I need to talk to Stephanie about it, actually, to maybe come up with a program to go back through all those people and get them sold on it. But it's like, how often are people making these changes?
Yeah. So you're not, well, it's like a gym membership. So like a lot of people have a gym membership, but some people are not even going to the gym.
I think it's
right?
like 80%, some shit like that. It's some crazy number.
So it's the peace of mind that you're on speed dial, you got free Q&A, you've got the ability to have a deed done for free. I mean, all these benefits definitely exceed the $800 per year that it's costing you, right? The value is there, especially if you throw in a discount for post-death, 100%. So you're not auto enrolling them where like they're going to be automatically billed? Oh man, you're creating a lot of admin work for yourself.
I know. This is something that we put in last year, and we didn't really put much foresight into how it would go.
Yeah. Clients, they'll fill out like a credit card authorization slip. So then we can just bill them. But that's created a lot of work for us too, because we haven't put that into like law pay or some type of automatic billing software yet. So we've got like a stack of forms that we have to go through.
Administratively, it's a whole other game. It's a whole other game, right? It's a whole other thing. Yeah, on its own. And then you're going to have people calling up, what the fuck did you charge me for? Right? Like
you signed. You signed
like a year ago. Yeah. I had a sales job I was the one that handled people on this exact point. So if they wanted to cancel their membership, I did.
You got those calls.
Yeah, I did Postcard Mania for a couple months. Yeah, they were fun. God, they're the worst calls.
So we tried Postcard Mania because you had sent me over like your template, and I think I bought, I don't know, like 18,000 postcards. We sent out 6,000 for 3 months, for 1 month, 6,000 month 2, 6,000 month 3. I don't know. We didn't see too much from it. So
yeah, I remember you commenting on that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome that, it works for you. I don't know if it was just the market or the design or,
it could be the design.
There's a lot of variables in it.
Yeah, there are certainly variables, right? It could be the design, could be, the website, because a lot of people are going to go to your website. I haven't looked at yours recently. Could be the list, who you were mailing to.
Yeah.
Were you mailing first class or EDDM? Those are all factors. And then one thing that that a lot of people don't take into consideration with marketing, that I learned at Postcard Mania, right? Because I'd get calls from people and they were like, hey, the postcards didn't work. And then I would dig in with them and look at these things with them. Like I'd analyze their website and their list and all this stuff. And I say, okay, how much revenue did you make last month? And they say, okay, 20,000 or whatever, some random number, 20,000. Okay, what'd you make the month before? 15,000. Okay, what'd you make the month before that? 10,000. Right? And it's like, okay, your numbers are going, you started this marketing, your revenue's gone up. No one said that they got a postcard, but your numbers are going up. Right? Whatever you're doing, right? Keep doing it. So that's something that I've kind of looked at with our law firm is just, what we're doing marketing wise, like the Google ads, we're constantly tweaking them and looking at the conversions and all that. Cause that can be changed pretty quickly, but our stats have gone up right through the years. And, so I just haven't dropped anything. Just haven't. Yeah. It's like everything
you want to try to measure everything. And I think I used to be like that. And then we kind of got a little lax and we're like, well, you can't measure an ROI on branding, but then to a certain extent, once you get to a certain size, at least with your marketing budget, like you have to measure, you have to know your numbers. And at least with digital, like postcards might be a little different because you get a postcard, you might have a call rail number on there, so you can track some calls, but they might go to your website and then call up your main line. But at least with digital, you can get dialed in where you can at least track the majority of leads that are coming from it. But, then again, are they stealing your mailer and then are they going to your website and then do they see like a flyer, out and about in the magazine or, there's so many touches. And one of the interesting things, a friend of mine he's not in the legal space, but he does mailers for his business. And he tells me stories where people will bring in a stack of mailers. They got like 10 mailers that they save. And he sends people over and over and over and over. And so they'll bring in like 10 mailers, and on the 10th mailer, they finally decide to go in and hire them. So it's definitely a long game. Yeah.
We get that all the time. Yeah, it's a long game. Yeah. I mean, look, we've been doing it since 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the same fucking people are getting hit with our stuff since 2020. We've added names to it, right? We only started out with, I think it was like 6,000. But yeah, now we have like 120,000, maybe 130 on our list. It is a numbers game. And a long game, numbers game and long game. What I learned at Postcard Mania was that it's really marketing is about repetition and consistency, right? And it's an outflow of communication. Okay. So an outflow, the more communication that you put out there, the more that is going to come back to you. Okay. And with marketing, it includes number of calls you make outbound calls, emails that you send out, right? Mass individual emails and mass emails, right? How many quotes are being resent, text messages, postcards, Google ads, right? Networking events, seminars, all these things are communication that are being put out and outflowed. And that is what brings in the inflow. Like our 3 intake girls, they're required to make 225 calls a week, each one of them. And they're often making more than that. But when stat numbers are down, I'll be like, okay, you need to make 300 this week, right? Like you have to make 300 calls. I don't care what happens. You're making 300 outbound calls.
So are you just following up with like people who haven't made a decision to hire your firm yet, or is that mainly who you're calling?
Yeah, so their outbound calls aren't limited to just people who have had quotes. It can also be calling a new lead, right? That hasn't booked a consult. That's an outbound call. Confirming an appointment, confirming a consult. That's an outbound call. Yeah, any outbound call that's obviously work related.
So anybody in your lead pipeline, pretty much.
Lead pipeline, yeah. So we have the leads because we have 2 stages, or really we really have 2 stages. So a lead comes in, phone call, web form, however, and they're a lead at that point. Their job is to, as quickly as possible, get them, either disqualify them or get them scheduled on a consultation. So if they're scheduled on a consultation, they move from being a lead over to a contact. And when they're a contact, we can create individual deals, opportunities, whatever you want to call it. They're all the same. Like, so in Zoho, it's called a deal. So we create an estate planning deal for that person. It attaches to that person's file in Zoho. And then once the person has the consultation, if they don't close on the consultation, then we're following up with them. We have a specific call follow-up schedule that we do. It's pretty aggressive.
Sequence, yeah.
Yeah, it's all sequenced out.
But right now, like the way you've done it, your intake team are not the people who have sat down with the client, right? So your attorney sits down with the client. So we were having like an internal discussion about this. Is it the intake that's responsible for the conversion, or is it a combination of teamwork between the attorney who met with the person who met with the client and the intake person who's following up with the prospective client?
Yeah, good question. The way we have had it set up, because we've had so many consultations, right? Like Ashley and Stephanie, their calendars right now are just like filled all day with consults. Same with Adeline, who does our Medicaid ones. Adeline doesn't do as many Medicaid consults, because she's also doing the legal work. She's fully responsible for doing the legal work. So she does, I think, 3 to 4 a day. I think four is her max. But so the way it's been set up is that they do the consult. If they don't close, intake is following up with them, right? Now, once we get this sales team built, part of their requirement, the consultant's requirement, who's is going to be to have at least a 50% close rate. Okay. Now that 50% close rate is going to be on a 30-day basis, right? So they have to close the sale within 30 days in order for it to count. So for that first 30 days, they are going to be responsible for following up, right? The person who does the consult. After that, it'll kick over to intake, whoever did the intake, and now they're for then on, they're the ones responsible for doing the follow-up.
But do you think, I mean, even like in your new scenario or your current scenario, do you think that the person who meets with the client is able to completely abdicate any responsibility for conversion after day 30, or even in your current scenario, like after they meet with them, just to hand it over to intake? Or do you think that there's a role that they have to take with some prospective new clients with trying to convert them? Because here's the thing, and the reason why I say this is some people might respond a little bit more easily with an intake attorney, or like the consultation attorney. Like they may be more responsive. They may be more likely to pick up the phone, to call them back. Right, there'd be maybe a heightened level of eagerness to answer them or to talk to them versus someone who's just an intake.
No doubt.
So, that's the thing is, what role, there has to be some role, I guess, is the point that I'm getting to, with that person who actually meets with them.
100%. It's the intake girls that we have are good. They're not super well versed in the law, right? They're doing intakes. They're calling people and asking them to pay, right? But they're not well versed in the law. They can't answer a lot of questions. They haven't really built the relationship. They did the initial intake, but that's not a real relationship builder.
No.
So whoever does the consult is going to have a way higher chance of closing them on it than the intake person.
Right.
Yeah. Our issue has been not having the time to do it.
Right. Same here.
Yeah. You have to really get it. First, to do follow-up, you really need to be in the mindset of doing follow-up.
Yeah. And that's not 1 or 2 times. That's like what, 9, 12, 15 times, 18 times. Yeah. It's a lot.
These girls are making 40, 50 calls a day. You know? Yeah. You need to sit down. Like, this is what I'm doing. I'm not doing
not just phone calls, text, emails, phone calls.
Right. Yeah. Right. This is, it's a job. It's a job. That has,
I'm with you.
That is its job. And so the legal work is a job. And they're not related. They're not similar.
No.
And when you start focusing on one, it's like, okay, I'll read this trust. I'll review this trust. Oh, okay. Now I'm going to make some calls. Okay. Now I'm going to review this. It's like it's a fucking yo-yo back and forth, and you're not going to do great at either one of them.
I hear you.
Yeah. So that's the whole, dude, I'm like so pumped about having this separated, and it's like, this is going to be a big step for us.
Yeah. Let me know how it goes. Was that decision made? Cause I think you said something about thinking about an answering service or somebody to answer calls. And I know you were talked to a couple of different groups, and you were kind of sticker shocked at some of the prices out there.
Oh yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised. I got an estimate from Smith AI, and they have like tons of receptionists who can answer the phone, right? And we can build it out. Right now, we get around 700 calls a month from our marketing, from postcards and digital ads. Okay. We don't do probate litigation, so we get a decent amount of calls, right, for that. We also, Medicaid draws in a shit ton of BS calls, people looking for just like doctor's visits and stuff like that. So that was taking our intake girls. We have one receptionist, okay, and if she doesn't answer the phone, it rings to the intake girls. If they don't answer the phone, it rings to not almost everyone. I think it rings to like 10 people, but we're still missing calls. And these girls, when they do an intake, can take 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes when just getting like a disqualified person, answering the phone for a disqualified person that needs litigation, this person will fucking talk for 3, 4, 5 minutes about random nonsense, and it's jamming up their then the phones are ringing and it's not getting picked up because they're on the phone. It's like
100%. We had a call from somebody out of state looking for their local clerk of court, so we were looking up the phone number, like giving it to them for someone who didn't have anything to do with Florida, so it's, that was 3, 4, 5 minutes there.
Yeah. It just
a lot.
Totally clogs the line. And it's only going to get worse. We're only going to spend more money on marketing. We're only going to get more calls coming in. And so when I looked at Smith AI's price, I think we got them down to like maybe $575 a call, something like for.
What does that work out? If they answered every call for you, what would that work out to?
It comes out to like around $4,500 a month. But okay, if I were to hire another receptionist, right? I'm not paying that much, right? But another receptionist doesn't solve my problem. I need 2, 3, maybe 4, right? To answer to make sure no calls get missed.
Yeah.
So, and they're not working overnight, right? A receptionist isn't going to work overnight and answer those calls that come in at 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. So when I looked at it, it financially made sense.
Oh, you pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
Did you really? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. We're hopefully we're doing the onboarding right now and building out what we need to build out. Hopefully it'll start within a week. Yeah, we have to do some stuff with Zoho, building out some things there. But
well, let me know how it goes.
I hope it goes well.
Just make sure. Well, the challenge is you don't have a dedicated person at these call centers. So like, at least the ones that we've talked to and have experimented in the past, you got someone different picking up the phone every time. So how can you train someone about your firm? How can you train them about your calendar? I mean, I don't know how detailed you're going to get with it, but it's hard to get a nice flow going. At least that's my experience. I hope you have a positive experience with it.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah. But you don't know until you try, right?
That's right. Yeah. I got to do something different. I really don't want to hire, 3-4 additional receptionists.
Yeah.
But that's the direction it was going.
I appreciate you inviting me on your podcast. It's cool that you're doing this, putting out the content. And if anybody listening has more questions or whatnot, www.lulich.com. And Joe, if you ever have anything, and I'm curious to hear about your experience, with the new salespeople and as well as with your new answering service. Let me know how that goes. No, I really do appreciate you having me on here, man.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So how does consults work with you?
So we have our attorneys do the consultations. We've got a team of 3 intake people that who field the calls like your intake team. They're answering calls, transferring some, and then they're doing kind of 2 job responsibilities. They're transferring some calls and serving as reception, but then they'll also dive a little bit more in depth and do some intake. They'll set up the consultation. I've right now, the way we've done it and the way we've gotten to where we are is how our attorneys do the consultations. That's worked out with us so far. And once the consultation's over, the attorney will give some notes back to intake. And then I've got one person on my intake team who's solely responsible for just follow up. So 2 people are inbound, 1 person is outbound. Challenge is just keeping up with the volume like your team has. But one of the things that we implemented probably like a month ago, 6 weeks ago, is we do a daily call log tracker. So we're tracking how many calls each person are making outbound, how many inbound calls, external outbound, external inbound.
Same.
And that's been awesome to track that consistently. And we send that out to the entire intake team where everybody's aware of, those metrics. Our attorneys have had to get involved with some follow-up, not all of them, but, if the intake team's trying to they're having a difficult time getting a hold of, a lead, then the attorney will help out and make a phone call. But we try to limit that.
Yeah. Yeah. We do the same. We do the same now, especially for a good cycle. Someone's quoted, 15 grand or something. It's like, hey, I need a little help on this. Right.
Let's baby this one. Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So we're pretty similar with the whole setup. What do you want to do? What do you want to do differently or add for this year?
From intake?
Just, from the whole deal. Yeah.
From the whole deal, from the whole firm. We're going to roll out the maintenance plan.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to probably work on the time it takes us to get our signings completed. We've got if you look at our numbers, we've got a couple people from like October, November that still don't have an estate plan that's signed. So try to decrease that amount of time.
Is the work done?
Drafts been completed. Drafts are with clients. There's just no scheduled signing. And there's a communication challenge, I think, that we have with getting them scheduled.
What we did, it's a very small thing, but it instantly was effective because we had the same issue. And it was driving us crazy. When they pay for the estate plan, right? We have a design meeting. Well, okay, they pay for the estate plan. We then send them an in-depth questionnaire to fill out. We have
use a Decision Vault?
No, we don't. We use Content Snare.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget why we didn't go with Decision Vault. I don't think I knew about Decision Vault at the time. Oh, I know why we don't use Decision Vault. Because Content Snare, totally customizable. I think Decision Vault is too, but the Content Snare will send out text message reminders. So we're like super text message and email reminders when they haven't completed what they need to complete. And it's like gives them reminders like, oh, hey, your documents, your questionnaire is due within 5 days. This is a reminder. It's due within 2 days. It's a reminder. Oh, it's overdue. and it's fucking aggressive. Like once it's overdue, then we're hitting them up every single day, right? Reminders.
Content snare.
Yeah, content snare. And Decision Vault didn't have that. And that was once we started using content snare and had those reminders in there, we were getting the questionnaire back very, very quickly. So from there, we have our paralegal. We call it a design meeting, which I think is a little bit different language than.
We use the same thing.
Okay. So our paralegal meets with them to go over their questionnaire and to basically draft their documents. Okay. So at the time that the person has the consultant pays, we calendar the design meeting with the paralegal. Okay. So it's instantly it's calendared. Then when they have the design meeting, the signing appointment is calendared as well. Yep. And you guys do the same?
No, but we're going to roll that out.
It is. Yep. It's been a game changer, right? Once you have it on the calendar and you mark down, it totally resolved that issue. Now it's very few and far between that cancel. And if they cancel, then they're getting rescheduled when they cancel.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that too. The cancel part.
Mm-hmm. Good shit happens. Things are,
right. Life gets sick, vacation.
Right.
Yeah. Things happen, obviously.
Mm-hmm. But they will always let you know when they need to cancel. And it's like, okay, we're booking another time right now.
Yeah.
Because man, we had the same exact issue. It was driving us nuts.
So that's one of our goals is try to decrease that time.
Yeah.
We're trying to also really define our cross practice area referrals. So, we're doing real estate, closings, we're doing estate planning, and making sure people are aware that are going through a closing or they're going through an estate plan. Hey, we've got a larger firm that also can help you with this area. Because I think there's a lot of lost leaders, even, like with your title company, all the people coming through doing the closings, like you've got 2 people plus a real estate agent on every single transaction. That's 3-4 people, every single transaction that you have coming through. So trying to define out and evolve that strategy a little bit more to get them to come back and, sit down for an estate plan.
Yeah. Are you doing all the closings in the office?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We our title company.
We got them coming in. One thing that we thought was just tailoring some content, trying to segment our audiences a little bit with our marketing strategies. So, segmenting in our mailing list, for real estate closings, creating some literature for buyers and sellers, the importance of estate planning. So just tailored content, for the different practice areas where it's not this brochure that just generally goes over estate planning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Our title company, we started it a few years ago, and I don't know title myself, right? Ashley doesn't really know title either. We found this amazing licensed title agent who's been doing it forever. She's probably in her early 60s. She's fantastic. Totally trust her. So she's basically almost run it herself. She now works totally remotely. She's about 25-minute drive from the office, but it never really took off. And then what I realized is that title agents are very similar. The relationship is very similar to that of a realtor and a client. Like they're going to, like, if I have a realtor that I like, I'm going to use him. I don't give a shit what company he's with, what broker he's with. I'm going to use him. Right.
Right. And very people relationship driven.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And realtors are like that with title agents. It's like, they couldn't really give 2 shits of who the title agent is with. They just want to use that title agent. So we recently and my attention has been so much on the law firm and growing the law firm that I've really neglected it. I have a partner with the title company, and he's been kind of a silent partner, but he's getting more involved now. And our plan is to run the title company like real estate brokers run theirs. And we're going to have licensed title agents throughout the state. We're going to go after title agents who have a book of business, and we're going to pay them commission only, high percentage of the title insurance premium, right? Probably like 70%. And there's a couple of women in our area who, when you scoured the MLS, we looked at like the last 6 months worth of closings and who the title agent was listed, right? And there's several women who are just like, that's them. It's like they're the top, they're the top 5%. Yeah, they're doing all the closing. But the average title agent, their salary is like super low. They don't make very much money. You're talking about like 60, 70 grand. And I was like looking at the closings at these few women, and if they work for us and they were getting paid 70% commission, dude, they'd be making like 300-400 grand a year. So we hired a guy recently that we know. He's going to be the CEO of the title company, and we have this whole program written out and how to kind of, get this thing going. But it's exciting. We're going to change the name of it. Right now it's At Cause Title Agency. But with that, I think we had like someone wrote a review for our law firm on the title company's Google page, right?
Yeah.
So if we keep it that way, then you get some disgruntled person who comes and writes a bad review on the law firm, thinking that they're writing it for the title company. And yeah, it's exciting to get that possibly going. It's a unique concept.
Nice, man. Well, I got to run.
Good talking with you.
But good talking with you, Joe. I appreciate it, man.
Jordan.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Take care.